Hey everybody, this is Brian.
Jason.
And this is the Perfectly Screwed podcast. I have no fucking idea what episode we're on, man. Jason hurt his back everybody at work. Keep telling you, you need a different job, dude. You're getting too old to do that shit. I'm just saying.
I mean,
just putting it out
telling
there.
Me.
I'm just putting it out there. Just putting it out there, man.
It's not a lie, but I don't know what episode
there,
this is.
like, I don't know, 130 something. Shit. I fucking don't know. We lost two, did I tell you that?
Did we really?
Yes, somehow. Okay, well, what happened was we started recording videos. So I've been putting the videos out with them. Well, before that we recorded two. That was just audio. And somewhere along the line when I was deleting shit the other day, I deleted those. Because I'm a jackass. Yeah. We lost two. I don't even know what two they were, so I can't go back and re-record them later either, because I don't know. You look like you're...
I don't know, bud.
You look like you're in pain. So we appreciate Jason being here, because he's obviously dying. So, let's see. I guess we can just get into it today, because I have nothing besides this, because, well, I'm not prepared, because, again, been jackassing around, and... And secondly, I mean, Trump hasn't done nothing to humor me as of late, so... No, not as of late. I mean, I'm sure he did do something, but...
You just haven't been paying
attention.
attention.
I haven't been paying attention. I get tired of the rhetoric after a while. It gets old. I don't care really who wins, because either way you're fucked, so...
The election's coming up pretty quick, right?
November. Sometime in November. I don't know the exact date. I think like November 14th. So we got like a month or so until the election. But it doesn't matter. If she wins, we're fucked. If he wins, we're fucked. Either way, just bend over and take it like a champ.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Fuck.
The president has no. They're just a puppet.
Yeah. Well, that's what I've said to begin with to a lot of people, is that the president really has no power anyways. If Congress and the Senate and, you know, the House, if the House and the Senate do not agree with the president on anything, you're not going to get anything passed anyway, so. I mean, he can say he's going to do whatever he wants to do, but it's not like he's a king. He can't just say, oh, this is what's going to happen, and it happens. Right. Yeah, you got to go through a whole process, so, you know, whatever.
The whole thing is, The whole thing's a process.
Yeah. So, like I said,
just like
if you can't get people to agree with you.
It's just like the individual vote. I mean, because the president ultimately comes down to the electoral college.
Right, and the electoral college comes down to how many people are in said state. Yeah. So certain states matter a hell of a lot more than others.
Right.
Like Indiana, for instance, where we are, it doesn't really matter for shit. We don't get a lot of electoral college votes.
You can say that your individual vote matters.
I mean, it does kind of.
Right, but it doesn't.
Unless everybody in the state agrees with you, it doesn't.
Right. Like, it's not like... Because to me, it should be... There should be no electoral college.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah. A lot of people agree with that.
Right. It should be whoever votes for who.
Well, that's popular vote. And that's actually what it should be. But also...
I mean, that's...
I don't believe the representatives of the state should make decisions based on what they think the people want. See, any law, and in a lot of states this is how it happens. In Ohio, California, a lot of states, this is why marijuana is legal in a lot of states, because they propose something, right, and then they send it to the people. The people vote on that proposition. And then if enough people have voted on it to then it becomes a law.
Right.
Which is why marijuana became legal in Ohio and everything. But here in Indiana, that's not how it works. Indiana, they don't send the vote to the people. They just decide for you because you elected them, and then...
Right.
So, if the people don't agree with it, the only thing you can do is elect different senators and representatives and shit like that. But, unfortunately, in the state of Indiana, that never happens. So. But but I'm done with my soapbox today. We're not talking about
Fuck that.
Yeah, we're not talking about that. What we are talking about is something. We're going to do a serial killer today who's, well, serial killers actually. This is one of the first ones we've done where there's serial killers.
Okay.
There was two of them, and they kind of joined together to have a nice little killing spree, rape and murder, you know. Most of the time we talk about one guy. These are two psychopaths that happen to be related. Cousins, I believe.
Really?
Yeah. But we're talking about the Hillside Strangler. And the Hillside Strangler was in Los Angeles, California, between... A lot of these motherfuckers come from the West Coast. You ever notice that? Like, you know, I mean, we've had a few where you get them from the Midwest area, and a couple from, like, you know, the East Coast, but a large number of these guys.
Yeah, I'd like to see like a
large number.
I'd like to see a map with it all pinpointed where they're all from.
A lot of them come from the West Coast area. I mean, BTK, Washington State. You know, I think Kemper was from, like, Washington State. You know, you got Gacy, he was from California. And you had Ted Bundy was, you know, Oregon, Washington State area. Fucking Gacy, he was from, you know, LA County area. So, you know, and the Night Stalker, that was from, you know, LA and San Francisco area. So a lot of them come from the West Coast. Something about the water, I think.
I don't know.
Know.
I couldn't tell you.
And a lot of them were in the 70s, too. Tells you maybe that doing all those drugs in the 60s wasn't a good idea.
Like I said, that's why I'd like to see it actually mapped out, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you had a list
I'm going to have to look
you had
that
a
up.
list of a bunch of all the serial killers you know, and then pinpoint, because I don't know. Maybe it's just coincidence that
we do a lot of the West Coast ones. I mean, a lot of the famous ones, at least, are from the West Coast. I mean, there's killers everywhere.
Yeah.
But a lot of the famous serial killers are from the West Coast. Maybe that's just because LA is a big place and, you know, very famous because of Hollywood. And,
I don't know.
I mean,
I don't know.
The only one I can name from really New York is Son of Sam, you know, David Berkowitz. So, but anyways.
Interesting.
Yes. The Hillside Strangler. So,
bottom line is, so you're saying it Hillside Strangler, singular, but before you mentioned that there was two of them.
Right, because originally they thought it was one person. It was only later found out that there was actually two guys that were cousins committing these murders. And the reason they called them the Hillside Strangler is because they would leave the bodies around the hillsides in California, right off the freeway overpasses there and stuff, and they would pose the bodies in weird sexual positions. Yeah.
I'm just saying though, why isn't it switched to Stranglers?
Well, they did. Later on they switched to the Hillside Stranglers,
okay.
But we still refer to the Hillside Strangler. Because they still refer it, you know, to the crime in the singular for some reason. But it was Kenneth Bianchi and Angelo Bueno Jr. were the two that did this.
And they're from where?
Well, I believe Angelo is from Los Angeles. But, well, it happened in Los Angeles, so they were both in Los Angeles at the time.
Okay.
There was only 10 killed together, which I say only.
Right.
That's still very bad, but
yeah.
Number-wise, I mean, for a serial killer, it's very low. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, you know, we've talked about Bundy. Bundy had 30 plus, you know, 40
that's
plus.
That's just 10 together, but then did they kill individually as well?
Bianchi killed 2 by himself.
Okay.
And they did the crimes from October of 77 to February of 78. So they only killed for like a year, basically. Not even a year. Less than a year. So actually their killing spree didn't go on very long, and it didn't take too long really for the police to catch them either. Because they caught him January of '79. They caught Bianchi, and Bueno was caught in October of '79. One interesting thing, though, and here we go again with this one. The police brought in a psychic, Jason.
Did they?
Yes, they did.
Yes. Yes.
Of course they do. Can't figure anything out. What do? We bring in the psychic. But,
I mean, I could buy, like, a remote viewer. Like, if that's what they're thinking, like, maybe that's what they're talking about.
no, this guy was a psychic from Berlin. The detective who was working on it, Bob Grogan, he was polite with psychic, but he said he didn't believe in psychic phenomenon, and he was very enthusiastic. He was nice to the psychic, but he was like, this is fucking bullshit.
Who was like this? The cop?
Yeah, the cop. Yeah, the main detective, Bob Grogan. We just call him Bab. Just Bab, the detective.
It's a Bab.
Bab. But anyways, he said he was not enthusiastic about this at all. He said, I don't believe in this bullshit. He said, look, we need to do real police work. You crazy motherfuckers are bringing in the psychic. Now listen, this is the fucking crazy part, though. The psychic wrote to them and told the cops, he said, look, you're looking for two people, not one. They're both Italians. They're either brothers or related in some way. And they're around 35 to 40. Now, both of them were in their 40s when they were doing these murders. So he was... Laugh as you want.
He was
right.
He was right about some
It's
things.
one of the first times we've had a psychic in one of these cases.
But,
they're bringing psychics a lot. That was correct.
What? You know what I'm saying? Like, if you throw enough fucking darts, dude, you're gonna hit a bullseye.
Well, yeah, but he was right on.
But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, if you get enough psychics in there, eventually you're going to find one who might be legit.
To lay out enough circumstances.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Oh, you're looking for two of them. Well, if there are two of them, he's taking a risk saying there's two of them. Once he's made that commitment, then of course they're going to be related somehow. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's a vague psychic term. And 35 to 40?
Right. But
that's pretty good.
I'll give him
that one.
Yeah, he was pretty good. He was pretty good. And to say they're Italian.
He could have said 20 to 40.
Yeah, and they're Italians. He got that right. I mean, without any of this information.
Did he though? Bueno, is that Italian?
Yeah, they were both Italian.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing was, at the time, the police only believed there was one killer. They said there's no way there's two. Come on, it's unheard of two serial killers working together.
Right.
And you say they're brothers or cousins and they're related. Get the fuck out of here. This is crazy.
Yeah.
So they threw the psychic shit away, and it's the first time the police should have probably listened to this motherfucker. Because, they found out later, from positions of the bodies and from DNA evidence much later on, that there was obviously two killers. Now, the murders began with the death of two prostitutes. They were found strangled and dumped naked on the hillsides northeast of Los Angeles in October and early November of 1977. But, here we go again, because they were prostitutes, and even though they were dumped in very similar manners, killed in very similar manners, posed in very similar manners, and it was clear that these two murders were related, because they were prostitutes and not what police considered, your upper class or normal person, the police just kind of fucking threw it away. They were like, yeah, they're two hookers, fuck them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which happens a lot, unfortunately, in our society, that, women that are prostitutes or that are sex workers are, a lot of the time, especially in this time period and in the 80s and even today, they're looked at like, oh, well, they deserved it. You know what I'm saying? Where nobody deserves to be murdered no matter what you do.
Yeah. I mean, even if you're not looking at it as they deserved it, you're not looking at it as
we're going to look
into it. Yeah. Right. We're not, yeah.
Because they're sex workers. We don't care.
Sorry.
And right. I mean, that extends even to strippers a lot of the time.
It's unfortunate that this happened.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Maybe, you know what I mean? You get what you asked for. There's nobody really looking for you.
Yeah. And that's the thing. That's the bad thing about our society. And as we review a lot of these cases, they tend to go that way. You know what I'm saying? If it's a prostitute, if it's, porn star, stripper or whatever, these police that's why the toy box killer, who we had on who we talked about on the podcast, that's why he got away with it for so long.
Yeah.
Like 30 years, because he was only doing it to hookers. And because he was only doing this to prostitutes, the police were like, fuck it, man. It's just, And really, it shouldn't be that way. Because no matter what line of work you're in, you still should have the respect of a human being, just like everyone else.
Yeah. No, you're right. It shouldn't be that way. But yeah, I mean, to me, it comes down to the person killed who is looking for them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because that tells you what kind of person you're dealing with here.
Mm-hmm.
Which would make sense why it is a bigger deal. You know what I mean? If somebody we call upper class, but if that somebody we call upper class is a mom, a wife, a daughter, a sister, a granddaughter, a grandma, you know what I mean? Then that's a fucking bigger deal than Sherry on the street corner, you know what I mean? Who has no fucking family, no real friends.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, it doesn't get media attention because of the fact that they are prostitutes. And like you said, nobody's really looking for these girls. They're probably runaways. They're chicks on the street corner. The only person looking for them is other prostitutes or pimps. And the media doesn't give a shit about a hooker dying. Where they do give a shit, and this is what spawned actually the whole investigation, is because there was 5 young women who were not prostitutes, but they were middle-class girls that were abducted from the neighborhoods around Los Angeles. And when that happened, the media attention really focused on, because they were like, wait,
that's scary.
Yeah, you can go kill some hookers. You want to go kill the chick, who does this for a living, that's one thing. We can't have you abducting middle-class girls just walking down the street, guy.
Yeah, I mean, well, again, and nothing against hookers, dude. You know what I mean? I'm not saying anything bad.
No, I mean, they actually provide a service for a lot of lonely
people. Yeah, but see, like what, you know what I'm saying? Define a hooker. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, if you're dating some fucking chick and you're you know what I mean? You guys aren't exclusive, but you're fucking taking her out to dinner, you're buying her shit, you know what I'm saying? For what reason?
Well, you're paying for it either way.
Right.
I mean,
she's not considered a hooker.
Right.
Right, so like the hookers we're talking about are actually on the fucking street corner, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so they've made a choice to put themselves in a position where if they get killed, you kind of understand.
Well,
you know what I'm saying? You've put yourself in that type of environment where there could be gunfire.
Yeah.
Where if you're just a middle-class girl playing in the fucking neighborhood in the suburban cul-de-sac.
Right.
Yeah, dude, that's different.
Yeah. 100%. When you do certain jobs.
Yeah.
You put yourself in a position to for violence. If you're a heroin dealer,
yes.
I mean, you're more likely to die than if you're.
You could get caught in some gunfire.
Yeah,
right.
And you take that, as part of your.
It would be the same thing. We would all be. Everybody would be like, "It sucks, man. Sucks he died."
Yeah, but
that's the life he chose.
Right. But that's again, it's some of the reasons that I say prostitution should probably be legalized. Because you legalize something, you take away the violent criminal element to it. It's because prostitution is illegal, which is dumb because it does nothing to harm anybody. But when you make something illegal like prostitution, you have to sneak around to do it. So then you add a criminal element to it that shouldn't be there if it was a legitimate business.
Well, and another thing, if a prostitute just gets killed because of her business and her environment and the violence and something happened, you know what I mean? She stiffed a pimp or whatever, and she gets killed, they kill her. What they're not gonna do is put her in a pose on a fucking hillside. So that right there should have told the cops something.
Oh, the cops knew what was going on, they just didn't care.
Right, like.
And that's the sad part about the police too, they just don't care about certain people. When it was 2 hookers, it's one thing. When you find 5 missing girls from middle class neighborhoods, then it's you know.
You should have kind of had a sense, though, is what I'm saying. When you find them posed on the hillside, that this just isn't like a gang related.
But they just didn't care. If it had continued to be prostitutes, nobody would have cared.
True.
But because they went and abducted, and because they were from middle class neighborhoods, that's the key there.
Yeah.
If they had been poor neighborhoods, again, the police
projects of LA.
Yeah, the police might not have cared that much. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because if you got the lower dredges of society being abducted and killed, the police look at it as, well, yeah, you know, they're not that important. And that's sad that the police feel like that in our culture. But so, anyways, 5 more girls were abducted from middle-class neighborhoods, and that started media attention, and that's when the moniker Hillside Strangler came to prominence from the media. Then there were 2 more deaths in December and February before the murders just abruptly stopped, which is, again, very odd for serial killers. But yeah, February of 78, the murders just, boop, stopped. They went on a killing spree for a little while, and then the murders just kind of quit. And that's why, again, it was just a very limited, small amount of time that this happened.
Yeah.
So they started an investigation, and it proved fruitless until the arrest of Bianchi in January 1979 for the murder of 2 more young women in Washington, and the subsequent linking of his past to the Strangler case. So this is the thing, this is the funny part about this case, if we can say funny when it comes to serial killers. But they had no idea who these guys were. That's why, Angelo, had stopped killing. Which kind of leads me to believe that maybe he wasn't necessarily the psychotic one. Maybe he was the one going along with a lot of this shit. Whereas Bianchi couldn't stop himself.
Yeah.
He kept on doing it. And Bianchi moved back to Washington State. And that's what actually got him caught, was Bianchi killed 2 women on his own.
Yeah.
And when he killed those 2 girls on his own, and they noticed, wait, these are just like the Strangler case, they kind of started investigating it and were like, oh, wait, now we got this guy, and we know he had to have something to do with these chicks in Los Angeles, and wait, he used to live in Los Angeles, wait, 2 and 2 is making 4 here.
Yeah, you don't need a psychic for that type of police.
No. So in January of 76, Kenneth Bianchi left Rochester, New York, where he lived, and he moved to Los Angeles, California to live with his cousin, Angelo Bueno Jr. Bueno provided a strong role model for the docile and backward Bianchi. Bianchi was, it's interesting because Bianchi was considered an introvert, actually. A lot of people said Bianchi was very quiet, very introverted, would not make eye contact, didn't talk to you, was very shy almost and docile. Where Angelo was very outgoing, Very aggressive, very kind of violent kind of guy.
Yeah.
So he provided a very strong role model for Beyonce when he moved to Los Angeles. Beyonce became short of money very quickly, and that's when Bueno said, well, you know what? If we get some girls to work for us as prostitutes, we can make some quick money, dude. So they kind of got pimps. So two teenage runaways, Sabara Hanna and Becky Spears, met Beyonce and Bueno, and they became their pimps. And they forced these two young girls to prostitute themselves.
Yeah.
Now, Spears eventually escaped because she met an attorney who I'm sure she was fucking. It doesn't say she was, but
might as well.
I'm assuming. But he helped her escape the city. Encouraged by Spears' escape, Hannah then ran away from Beyonce and Bueno a short time later. So, with their pimping income gone, they decided they better find more teenage girls. So they started impersonating police officers. Yeah.
God damn it.
And they would go up to runaways, and they would say, we're cops, da-da-da-da-da, and get them to basically force the young girls that were runaways to be their prostitutes.
Right.
So they found enough.
Real good guys here.
Yeah.
Real upstanding citizens.
Upstanding citizens. They got two police uniforms, and
let's go find some runaways. Let's go find some fucking runaways.
they found some runaway teenage girls.
Let's grab a fucking half dozen donuts, some fucking coffee. Let's get to work.
Then they also
Let's get to fucking work.
they also purchased a trick list from a prostitute named Deborah Noble,
Nice.
which was a list of runaways that might be tricking on the streets that they could apprehend and make them their prostitutes.
Right, Deborah's the real pimp.
Yeah. Deborah helped
Deborah
them.
knows all the fucking tricks.
They also on the list had a list of names of men who frequented prostitutes.
They had a John list and a trick list. They got a fucking business going now, boy.
Yeah, now they had a business.
Absolutely.
So they were taking these young teenage girls and they were prostituting them, basically. So Yolanda Washington was the first actual victim. And she happened to mention to Bueno that she always worked on a certain stretch of Sunset Boulevard. Now, at the time, they found out that Deborah Noble had deceived them about the list, but they couldn't find her.
Oh,
it was a fake list.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, they found out that this list that they bought from this bitch
Oh, shit.
wasn't real hookers and wasn't real.
This bitch is
it was just
dead.
made up names.
Now you can kind of understand why these dudes are pissed.
Yeah, so now they're pissed.
Right.
So they're looking for this bitch, but they can't find her.
Yeah. I would be too.
So, but they did find Yolanda Washington, who used to work for Deborah.
Oh, God.
So they were pissed off when they found Yolanda, asking her where Deborah might be. And Yolanda didn't know where Deborah was. So they said, you know what, bitch?
You're dead.
You're dead. Right. So
We're
they
sending a message to
Yeah.
Debbie.
Yeah. So they took out their rage on Yolanda.
Fuck.
And her naked body was found on October 17th, 1977 on a hillside near the Ventura Freeway. Detective Frank Salerno of the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department was called to the scene, where it was determined the corpse had been raped repeatedly, tortured, strangled, and suffocated with a bag.
Yolanda was wrong place, wrong time, man.
She was cleaned thoroughly, and all traces of fingerprints were removed before being dumped. There were faint marks around her neck, wrist, and ankles, signs of a rope being used. So she had been raped repeatedly. She had been strangled with a rope after being tied up, and then suffocated with what they found out later to be a dry cleaning bag.
Wrong place, wrong time.
Correct.
If that would have been Deb, they were going for Deb.
Yeah, they were going for
They
Deb.
found Yolanda.
And they found Yolanda, who used to work for her, and they couldn't find Deborah, so they were like, you know what, bitch?
Somebody's dying.
Somebody's dying today.
Yeah.
Yeah. Deborah's gonna find out.
Yeah. Real soon.
So then there was Judith Miller, and on November 1st, 1977, police were called to Alta Terrace Drive, a neighborhood 12 miles north of downtown Los Angeles. This is where the body of a teenage girl, the Judith Miller, who was also a prostitute and used to work for Deborah, was found naked. She was face up on a parkway in a middle-class residential area. The homeowner had covered her with a tarp in the early morning hours to prevent the children from viewing her on their way to school. Well, it's helpful.
Thank you, sir. Right.
We do appreciate that.
Right.
We wouldn't want school-age children walking by a spread eagle dead hooker on the side of the road on their way to school. Getting up to go to school, look over, there's Judy.
What?
There's Judy, spread eagle.
What?
Bush poking.
Didn't they call the fucking cops?
Yeah, it took them a while to get there.
No shit, like, doesn't matter when you call them, they should be there immediately.
Hey, guy.
Right? Right? Yeah, we'll be there about 9.
We'll get there when we get there.
9 or 10.
Hey, guy,
You just cover that up. You got a tarp there? You got a tarp in the garage,
just
sir?
to let the sheriff know I was on my way to work.
Just tarp that up. We'll be there about 9 or 10.
Hey, guy, just to let you guys know, thought it was interesting information. I was on my way to work getting a coffee and shit, you know, from Dunkin', and happened to see this dead hooker on the side of the hill there. She's spread eagle.
Sitting fucking...
Bush is open, I mean.
She's dead in Larry's backyard.
Yeah.
I don't know, I texted him and told him to throw a tarp over her.
But we threw a tarp over her so the kids didn't see her, just so you know.
So, whatever you guys get here's fine.
Yeah, just whatever you can get around to it,
what the fuck? Some of these details are just hilarious.
So they found, again, marks on her neck, wrist, and ankles, indicating that she had been bound and strangled. They also noticed that she had also been smothered to death with a bag. The body was again cleaned extensively and dumped. They also, on this one, they found a small, light-colored piece of fluff on her eyelid, and Detective Salerno saved it for later examination. This one, they actually had raped and sodomized her. So, she had been raped repeatedly and in both holes, basically. Right. Basically. Yeah, so. Right. The girl was small and thin. She only weighed about 90 pounds and was about 16 years old. Eventually, they identified her as a 15-year-old runaway named Judith Lynn Miller, a former student of the Hollywood High School. She had dropped out and was a part-time sex worker. She had been last seen alive on Halloween, October 31st, 1977, talking to a man driving a large two-tone sedan, which later comes in play. What had happened is they told her that they were undercover police officers. They handcuffed her and put her in the back of the sedan, and they took her to Bueno's Auto Upholstery Shop in Glendale, California, where they tortured her, raped her repeatedly, and then eventually killed her. They kept her, they think, for almost a month.
Jesus.
Because, well, no, not a month. About a week, because she was seen talking to them on October 31st on Halloween, and she was found on November 1st. So, no, not even a week, a day.
Day.
Yeah. So they took her on Halloween, they raped her, had her fun with her at an auto upholstery shop, tortured her, then killed her.
Yeah.
So, this is the first episode on the Hillside Strangler, And in the next one, we're going to start it off probably by talking about these two jackasses, get some of their background, and then we'll go back into the murders and eventually their arrest. But that was the two prostitutes that we were talking about first, that the police basically didn't give a shit about.
Yeah.
And then we'll talk about some of the other murders and stuff like that in the next episode. But we will see you next time.
Later.